Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America once again, and this is a brewery who you've seen me review a number of collaborations from, but for the very first time I've been able to get hold of one of their own beers so I could do my first ever dedicated review to this brewery. So for this one we're going to go to Louisville in Kentucky, which is of course home to Against the Grain Brewery. It took me a while to actually be able to say that, Against the Grain, but for this one we are going to have a taste of the brown note, which is their brown ale, and to be honest, in the kiosk over in Copenhagen they had a few different things. They had the Citra Ass Down, which I've heard from Craig at Kent Beer Reviews. He told me that was a really nice beer, and this one I pretty much bought just because I thought the label of it was quite funny. But I do also really enjoy a brown ale as well. You know, the first one I tried, I'm sure, was Brooklyn Brown, and I really liked it, and then I've gone on to try some other ones. One of the best brown ales that I've found actually was the Karma Citra from Beer Here, who are from Bornholm in Denmark. That's probably the best brown ale that I've tried so far, but it's a style that I really enjoy, and I know this is a good brewery, so definitely looking forward to trying their one and seeing how we get on with it. So yeah, and you know, as I said, an interesting label was what attracted me to this beer in particular. But yeah, so anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Against the Grain before. As I said, this is the very first time I'm doing a dedicated review to them. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Against the Grain Brewery then. So Against the Grain Brewery, as I said to you, are based in Louisville in Kentucky, and they were founded back in 2011. So the four men behind this company are Sam Cruz, Jerry Gnaggy, Adam Watson and Andrew Ott, and the company started off as a small brew pub in Louisville, but their beers proved to be exceptionally popular, and so they bought a production facility in the Portland district where they now produce the vast majority of their beer. So Jerry was the original head brewer, and he previously worked at Bluegrass Brewing Company. Sam Cruz was a home brewer and apparently used to badger Jerry for ingredients before one day asking if he could help, and that was that. He went on to become the assistant brewer a little bit later. They were later joined by Adam, who filled Sam's previous role of keg cleaner, and Andrew was apparently a server in the brewery and asked if the three had thought about setting up their own brewery, and he said that they needed to look more at the restaurant side of their business, and he had experience and was well liked by the three, and so they invited him on board to actually start up their own company. So apparently Jerry had been thinking about starting his own brewery, and then he got a call from someone who asked him to look at a property for a restaurant that had just closed down. He told the landlord his concept and put together a business plan, and the landlord then actually offered them the property, but they rejected this space. But it had kind of set the wheels in motion and really got them thinking about starting up their own brewery. So in January of 2011 they started looking for places, and then in July they purchased their brew pub. The place used to be called Brownies, but it was a bit of a sinking ship, and they came in and purchased all of the equipment. They bought the place on the 29th of July and then opened it on the 4th of October, so they turned it round in just little over a month actually. But over the last few years they've been continually expanding their capacity, and they've become a really popular Kentucky brewery. In fairness, I would probably say that Against the Grain are probably the best known brewery from Kentucky actually in Europe. It's the one that we see most over here, I think, from Kentucky. I can't actually think of other breweries from Kentucky off the top of my head at the moment, but yeah, they're doing a lot of collaborations with Swedish and Danish brewers, I know, and I think they've been doing quite a few things with some of the English brewers as well. From what I remember, Against the Grain have done a few things with Northern Monk and stuff like that. But yeah, really interesting brewery. It's good to see that we're getting more breweries from different American states over here, because as I've told you on numerous occasions, there's some really random laws between these different American states, so it can even be difficult to get beer from your neighbouring state in America, from what I gather. But it's cool that we're able to get this one. Against the Grain are starting to export their cans over to England, and I don't know if they've reached Scotland yet, but I got this one over at Kiosk in Copenhagen in Denmark, which was pretty cool. But that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. Check out their website in the description below if you want to read a little bit more about them. You can follow them on Facebook as well. They've got quite an impressive list list of beers that they've done as well, so check out that part of their website and you can look at their rate beer page and stuff like that too. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. So yeah, so there you can see, there's the guy who shat himself on the on the label there. I did think that was quite funny, really. As I say, they had a few of the different Against the Grain beers. They had Citra Aston, which I know is good, but the brown ale, of course, the brown ale, you know, with them being exported beers, I thought the brown ale would be the better one. Plus, I just like the label of that. I think that's brilliant. So there you can see at the top there, Against the Grain. There's the Against the Grain symbol on the back there, which is quite nice. On the back here it says, "Oh the shame, this is the brown ale to end all brown ales. Enjoy it because there is no longer any reason to drink another brown ale. You've reached the pinnacle, the disco bump, the brown note. Drink this beer or shit yourself trying." So yeah, this one's 5.0% brown ale. This one, it uses English malts and English hops apparently, so I'll be very interested to see how it turns out, but it's described on Untappd and things like that as an American brown ale, and the American ones I've always found are a little bit sweeter than the English ones, and they're usually a little bit higher in alcohol as well. Most English real ales are around the sort of 4% mark. But yeah, without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. I'm interested to see this claim of the pinnacle of brown ales, because as I say, the best one that I've ever had was the Karma Citra from Beer Here in Bornholm in Denmark. That's the best one I've had so far. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. It actually smells really nice as you open up. It's got a nice big sort of bready base to it. But yeah, look at that. So as you can see, this guy's actually quite a dark brown ale. You can't see it too well on the camera, I think, but when you hold this one up to the light, it's actually got a nice kind of ruby edge to it, but there's a solid finger of a frothy, I would say, slightly beige coloured head on this one. It's not tan or anything like that, it's just a light sort of beige, fawny colour. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall, it does look pretty nice, I have to say. And it looks pretty much as you would expect from a brown ale. One of the darker ones I've seen in recent times, though. They can be quite varied in colour, this style. Of course, Brooklyn Brown, from what I remember, is a good little bit lighter than that. And as I say, that was the brown ale that really set me off on enjoying this style. But yeah, looks really nice and pretty much as you'd expect. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and just to see how we get on with this one. Ooh, yeah. So, you can definitely smell the English malt in that. But there's definitely American malts in there as well. It's not, I don't think that's simply English malt that's in this one. So yeah, nice big bready notes. It's got a lovely big sort of brown, kind of toasty bready quality to it. There's definitely some toasted elements to this. There's maybe a little touch. It's got a lot of sort of brown sugar coming out of it as well, and the brown sugar's quite well fired. I'm not sure if it's quite treacle, but it's definitely got a sort of sweet kind of roasted caramel to it. There's a little bit of sweet caramel and a little bit of roasted caramel, and definitely some biscuity notes to it as well. But yeah, lovely big doughy sort of brown bready notes coming out of this beer. It's almost like, I don't know in America if they have the same kind of bread that we do, but in Scotland, the Scottish bread that we have has a really dark, well-fired crust on it. It really reminds me of that, like the top of a well-fired bread roll or something like that. That's the kind of aroma that's coming out of this beer. But yeah, the hops as well. The hops are, you know, they said they used some English hops in that, and the English hops I've always found, they've got a little bit of this earth, they've got a really distinctive earthiness and herbal quality to them, and you can pick up the earthiness in this one. The earthiness, it's not quite as sweet as you would get from the likes of the German noble hops or the Czech Sats hops, although Sats technically are noble hops. But yeah, it's got a distinctive earthiness to it, and you can pick up that earthiness there. It's just a little bit more bold, if that makes sense. It's a little bit more almost soily, if that makes sense. The German earthiness I always found is a little bit sweeter, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's a little touch of, you can pick up the grassiness in this beer as well. There's a little bit of a red fruity note, I think, as well. But there's almost an element of, it's not quite chocolatey, but the well-fired quality, the well-fired aromas that you get out of this beer, the sort of well-fired breadiness, and that toasted brown sugar. It's the toasted brown sugar that's really taken the forefront of this beer. But it smells really, really nice. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. It really is. It's well done, this one. I like how everything goes together. The aroma smells really nice. As I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you get stuck in. But I really want to try this beer now, so let's get fired in. So this one is the Brown Note, a brown ale at 5% from Against the Grain Brewery in Louisville in Kentucky over in America. Let's get stuck in then. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, that's nicely done. It's interesting because, you know, it's one of the things I've always said about the English traditional beers. I've never been a fan of the sort of golden ales and the pale ales and stuff like that from England. It's always, for me, when it comes to IPAs and pale ales and stuff, it's always been the American ones or the New Zealand ones. But one of the things I would say about the English traditional beers is the dark ones, I think, are really nice. And this beer, you taste it, and it really is very similar to these, the traditional ones. I've always found the styles that have gone over to America have changed a little bit. They've become a bit sweeter, you know, the fruits have come out a little bit more. The Scotch ales, for example, are always a little bit sweeter, and there's a bit more sugar in them, and you've got more kind of fruity qualities to the beer as well. But for me, in terms of an English brown ale, this one's really nicely done. I think it definitely, there's elements of the American brown ale in there. The flavours are a bit stronger and things, but it does kind of maintain that sort of traditional English feel to it, which I think is quite cool as well. I think that's interesting. You've got a little bit of New World in there, and you've got a little bit of Old World. So I'll say thumbs up to Against the Grain Brewery just now. They have done a nice job with this beer. So let's start with the malt base then. So with this one, you can feel that nice brown bready quality, that blankets the middle of your palate. On top of that, you start to get some of the more roasty notes, if you like. There's definitely that sort of well-fired bread roll kind of feel to this beer. Yeah, it's definitely got a little bit of that well-fired bread roll kind of thing to it, and I really like how that comes across. In the middle of your palate, you start to get a little bit of sweetness from this one. There is a little bit of a caramelly note in there, but it's quite a well-fired caramel, like I was saying. It actually reminds me a little bit of Dime Bars. It has a little bit of that kind of flavour to it, but as you go from the centre of the palate out towards the edge, you can feel that there's a little bit of a biscuity note, and maybe towards the front corner of the front part of the tongue, there's a little touch of a woody, an almost woody flavour coming out of this beer, which is interesting as well. I like everything. I like all the combinations of flavours that you have in this one. It goes together really well. But yeah, it's got everything you'd really want from. It's got everything that you would really want from the brown ale style. I like how everything's going together in this one. As I would say, when you go further into the aftertaste, you get a little bit more of the kind of grainy qualities coming out of the beer as well, which is nice. But it's a solid brown ale, this one. Make no mistake about that. Back corners of the palate, you've got a little bit of a kind of earthiness there. There's a little touch of earthiness there, and as you come further forward, there's maybe a little bit of that herbal quality that I was talking about with the English hops, but then as you come further forward, it fades away and just becomes a little bit more grassy, and it's completely grassy around the front kind of curve of the palate there, which is very, very nice. And then behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get that little oily bubble where the juicy, fruity qualities start to come out of the beer. But yeah, I like how everything is going together in this one. It's nicely done, this beer. So yeah, with this one, I would say, and then the fruity side of things, it's just got a little bit of a red fruity quality to it, which is interesting. So yeah, it's mainly just a very slight kind of candied red fruit that you're getting from this one. It's not quite figs, it's just a little bit of a very light, it's almost like just a little touch of strawberry or something like that, but very, very mild. The fruity qualities in this one kind of disappear quite easily. It's got a little bit of the grainy qualities start to push their way out as you go further and further into the aftertaste of this beer, and it's almost got just a little touch in the middle of the palate once your mouth adjusts to this one fully, it's almost just got a little touch of a kind of coffee flavour to it, which is really interesting as well. This beer's got a lot of complexity to it. I mean, for a 5% beer, it really has got quite a lot of stuff going on in it, so that's another kind of plus point in favour of this one. And it is quite cool to see lower ABV beers that have that level of complexity to them. So like I said, a thumbs up to Against the Grain Brewery for this one. I would say in terms of the style, it really fits more into that kind of traditional English bracket, but there are elements of the strength of the flavours, I guess you would say, kind of give this one away as an American brewed beer, because a lot of the English ones that I've had don't quite have that same level of flavour in them, I guess. I think you could definitely say that, but the brown ale, like I say, is one of my favourite styles, and in terms of English traditional beer, I always enjoyed the likes of the porters, the stouts, the milds and the brown ales. I was never a great fan of the English pale ales and stuff like that, but overall it's a really nice beer, and I'm glad that I got to review this one. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say mid-bodied this beer, definitely a mid-bodied one, at the top end of mid-bodied I would say though. Yeah, top end of mid-bodied. Carbonation's very smooth on this one. It leans towards the oily side of things. It's mainly an oily mouthfeel you get from this one. Good balance in the malt base, but it leans a little bit more towards the roasty kind of bitter side of things. But it does, there's a little bit of sweetness there, but mainly the malt base in this one leans towards that roasty bitter side of things. Nice smoothness to it as well, I would say. A little bit of hoppy bitterness. In terms of the IBUs, I would say this beer probably around the 30 or 40 mark. I'd be surprised if it's more than that. And in terms of, there's just a little touch of that juicy fruity quality to the beer as well, but overall it is really nice. If you enjoy a traditional English type brown ale, then this is one that you are going to enjoy too. So check out this beer and see what you think for yourself. I've enjoyed reviewing this one. I think it still stands though that against the Karma Citra from Beer Here is the best brown ale that I've reviewed, but if you enjoy, in terms of an English traditional brown ale, this is one that definitely is kind of up there in that regard. But I guess the Karma Citra is more of an American brown ale, but it was really good. But have a go at this beer for yourself and see what you think, and I hope that I can review more from Against the Grain at some point fairly soon. But yeah, let's leave it at that. So this one was the brown ale from Against the Grain Brewery in Louisville in Kentucky. A really nice beer, and I'm glad that I got to review this one. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media. Let me know what you think of this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Against the Grain Brewery as well. Do let me know some other Kentucky breweries that you might want me to check out as well. Hopefully we'll start to get more of them over here in Europe. But thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. The brown note, a brown ale from Against the Grain Brewery in Louisville in Kentucky over in America. Slanger just now. Skull.